Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. Guys, how are you feeling? How are you feeling that, based on the election outcome from last night, we are not going to have a pedophile in the Senate that we know of?
No, I mean, there's definitely a bunch, but the one that we, know about is only narrowly, by like a percentage point, avoided representing a lot of people. 2017's pretty cool. It's like, if you think about it, right? All the things that happened this year have been very cool and good for our mental health. And
I can't. This is like, I just like, I can't take victories anymore. I've learned that about myself this week, is that immediately when I get just like a little slice of relief from something that I previously would have thought would have been a given many years ago, like not electing a pedophile to the American Senate, like immediately after that happens, my body just goes, "Oh my God, it's come to this."
Here we are.
Like I can't do it anymore, man. Like I'm exhausted. And then
I feel
your net neutrality thing is coming up.
Oh God, it never
That's
ends.
like, I mean, like as a Canadian, that doesn't necessarily affect me as much as it is going to affect like millions of Americans.
Yeah, because I mean, when something happens in America, it never radiates outward, affecting the rest of the world. We normally keep our shit pretty contained.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's probably good.
So I'm exhausted right now, man. I've had it. I don't have the energy to deal with this shit anymore.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm kind of taking the opposite route on that, where like just being relieved that something terrible didn't happen is like really good. Like I'm all about it now, because like because there's been too many terrible things. So when the terrible thing doesn't happen, just staying in neutral instead of moving forward is like pretty solid for me. And that means I've lowered my expectations. But like for example, like earlier today, I learned that Patreon is not going to be shit. They completely changed course on what their fees were going to be. Everyone was very upset. My patrons were very upset, obviously. But Patreon basically said, "We fucked up today," in that language.
Yeah, but they're still doing it though, aren't they?
No, they're not.
Reversed today.
Oh.
No, it's over.
Okay, you see? All right, so now we're going to watch this happen in real time. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How great is it that the guy from Pomplamoose is more receptive to democracy than the United States of America? That's cool.
See, I'm feeling a wave of relief right now. I fully expect this to last somewhere in the range of about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then it's all going to come flooding back. So let's enjoy this while it lasts, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like the constant just dread and stuff, and how it's easy to not be able to take small victories and just enjoy them, because at least for me, that's my experience, that social media is such that anytime something good happens, people are like, well, listen, it looks good, but here are all the bad things about it, and we also remain vigilant of possible side effects and consequences. And then anytime something bad happens, everyone's like, oh, you think it's bad now? It's only gonna get worse. Like there's just
I mean, yeah, there have been some examples of that lately. Like, for some reason, a small child got milkshake ducked earlier this week.
Fast.
It was so bad. Basically, for anyone who doesn't have Twitter, I guess, a mother exploited her child by recording him crying and then posting it on the internet. The child was upset because of some sort of alleged bullying. 2 things happened. One is that a lot of people said the reason that people were picking on him is because he kept saying the N-word. And the other thing about that is that his mother was her Facebook is full of Confederate flags and other things that make her a questionable person.
You don't even need to qualify it. There was a time when you could be like, well, she has Confederate flags, but maybe that's just how she was raised, and they don't signify. No, it's 2017. We know what the fuck's up.
Yeah,
it's not enough. It's not enough in 2017 to monetize your child's grief.
You have to also
like
be
that's
racist.
not the scummy part of this story. The scummy part is that the whole reason why it happened was because racism. So
Guys, I told you children were bad. Like I told you this a long time ago, and everyone was like, "Oh, I bet that's just word funk, Leon. I bet he doesn't really mean that." No, they're bad.
I mean, monetizing your child is a conservative value. That's a lot of their whole thing, is that like children should be able to work in factories. It teaches them honest labor, and also if there's a fire, you can lock the doors and they can't get away.
Oh my god. So
That's a real thing that happened. I didn't just make that up. Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're okay.
So, the world is a fuck. 100,000 dead cops. Do you guys want to talk about cool stuff?
Yeah. I wanted to update the audience about something. Basically, last week, between the time that we recorded the episode and the time that I posted it on YouTube, basically the last episode we said like, oh, Quentin Tarantino is possibly doing a Star Trek movie, and the consensus was, yeah, but it's still going to be just like a PG-13 Star Trek movie, and we're like, yeah, so maybe it'll be cool. It's not. It's like I think a day after we recorded, it came out that the studio was completely behind his R-rated vision for this thing. It's still not definitely going to be made or anything.
that is a pretty shocking concession, though. Can we not acknowledge that?
Yeah, I was surprised by that. In an era in which it is difficult to be surprised, I was surprised by that. But yeah, that is the plan going forward. It might not be, it might not be next year. Someone might, get their head screwed on straight and say, wait a minute, this isn't what Star Trek is supposed to be.
I hope that he's got a concrete idea. Because everything that I'm reading on the subject says to me that Quentin Tarantino is walking into rooms of, like, producers and people who own intellectual property and saying, this is my idea, and other people are going, whoa, that actually sounds really good. Like, I'm hoping that that's the case, because if that's the case...
He just has a sticky note that says, people say the N-word and violence, question mark? And he just keeps showing it to people. And they're like, damn, that's a good idea, Quentin.
I just mean, Austin, okay, is that I don't want Quentin Tarantino to make a Star Trek movie on the merits of him being Quentin Tarantino, right? Like, I want him to have an idea. I want the idea to be good enough that the studio will say, okay, yeah, we absolutely have to make this, and I understand why you want your R rating. Like, if that's the case, I am still behind this project. But if this is just a bunch of people saying, oh, Quentin Tarantino wants to make a Star Trek movie, so I guess we'd better let him, I'm like, diametrically opposed to it. Like, I cannot think of a worse possible thing than letting Quentin Tarantino make a Star Trek movie just because he's Quentin Tarantino. But if it's the former, if he's got an idea, at least a reasonably fleshed idea about what he wants to make this movie about, and people are saying, yeah, we should do that, we can do that, then I'm okay. Who knows, though?
Yeah.
I mean, Leon, you would watch the new Star Trek movie if it was just a 2-hour close-up of my butt. So, I don't know if that...
only if it was called Star Trek Austin's Butt. Star Trek Into Austin's Butt.
There you go. We got it. It took a while, but we got there.
Better.
Speaking of stars, though, we're recording this the day before the new Star Wars comes out, so this episode is 100% spoiler-free because none of us have seen it, but by the time it's posted, you all will know. So, like, just be cool. Can you just be cool about it? Can you be cool, please? Thank you. That's my request.
We're recording this Wednesday night. I'm seeing it tomorrow night. So I reserved my tickets a few weeks in advance, so I'm pleased about that. So I won't have to get into a fight with someone over like a seat.
As you are wont to do, that classic Leon move.
Yeah, I'll knife you just to see my Star Wars.
Why do you think he's hairless,
you.
Austin? It's so that people can't get a hold of him.
Yep, that's how that works. So, yeah. Okay, so literally, I'll be honest with you. letting people know about Star Wars, discussing Star Trek, and the Roy Moore thing were the 3 topics I wanted to do.
Oops.
And we're 10 minutes in. So
and we just blew through all of them.
I have plenty of stuff. I'll save us. Don't worry, Leon.
You're gonna have to, because I mean I try to have like 3 topics every week, but like for some reason those were just easy to talk about.
Well, yeah, like, one of them was, hey, there was a thing we talked about last week, and another was, I'm gonna see a movie later. So
I'm
not looking. I don't know what's up with me. I'm not actually that excited about The Last Jedi. I don't know what's going on, but it's like a non-thing for me right now.
I'm not that excited about Star Wars, but I am very excited to see a new Rian Johnson movie, and they just so happen to be the same thing, which is convenient. So, like, if there was 2 different movies, the new Rian Johnson and the new Star Wars, I'd rather see the new Rian Johnson, but I get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Right. So, that's how I'm viewing it.
I don't know what it is, because when Disney announced that Star Wars was obviously coming back, and I'm still a little shocked, too, because, like, have we heard any movement on the Indiana Jones front? Because they're just...
Yeah, that's still... No, that's still happening.
Okay, all right. Because it's like, as far as I know, they're just like sitting on that right now. I haven't heard anything about it.
No, there's a release date.
But like when they announced that Star Wars was coming back, I was like, okay, I'm in it for the new trilogy. You know, all these like little side stories that they're doing. I'm like, bonus, extra Star Wars, whatever. Could be good, could be bad. I'm not like, that attached to it. But like, I was absolutely convinced that the new trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9, I was going to lose my shit over, and it turns out I'm not losing my shit over it, even though, like Austin says, it's a new Rian Johnson movie, and also, like, a new Star Wars movie. Am I dead inside? I'm worried that I'm dead inside, you guys.
Well, hold on. Well, can we backtrack to what was previously kind of an outlier position, kind of a radical thing I was trying to get going? I'm curious if everyone's caught up to my very correct opinion that Rogue One was bad, was very bad, and harmed my enjoyment of the whole thing.
We are, first of all, we've had this discussion before and how you're wrong.
Okay, so you guys haven't caught up yet. That's okay. I'm in the future. You'll get there.
It wasn't great, Austin. It wasn't great, but I found delight in it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't. I didn't like it as much as the original trilogy, or even like the most recent like numbered Star Wars. But I did like it. I like the characters. We've been over this. We everyone will have to like scour through the previous episodes to find my full complete thoughts. But basically, I'm right. So I mean, so I guess that's not it. If Johnny did like Rogue One, then it's probably not the issue. It still could be oversaturation, because we do get a Star Wars movie every year now.
There's also just the possibility that I have had a very difficult time of it recently, and I'm just having trouble getting excited about things.
That's true.
Like it's been a rough year. It's been a rough year for Johnny, and dredging up that like childlike glee that Star Wars usually registers with me is a more laborious task, I think, than it has been in the past. Maybe I'm just distrustful of positive emotions right now.
Yeah,
damn.
That's the psychological warfare aspect of fascism, where they just grind the will to resist out of you, and then it's just like you can't even enjoy anything anymore.
It's not even necessarily the grind of fascism. I just mean in general. Like I have had a tough year personally. I've had a tough year politically. I've had a tough year. It's been a difficult time for me. I'm not above admitting that. That's kind of my thing, I guess.
That's fair. But I mean, the good news for that, like, you may not be excited for Star Wars, but here's the thing. Like, you could still go see Star Wars, and maybe it will make you feel not shit.
Maybe. That's a possibility I'm open to. That sounds like I would be amenable to that situation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because Star Wars movies are the movies that make me cry. So like I want to get a good like sad and happy cry.
It's gonna be hard to see Carrie Fisher.
It is.
That's gonna be a rough obstacle course for me. I confess to that.
That's gonna do it for me. Yeah, I want to get in 2 good cries. That's basically my goal going in. Yeah.
I just found out Benicio
nice.
del Toro's in it, and that's probably
Yeah.
the thing I'm most excited about now.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm clearly not caught up on all the things going on. I haven't seen any trailers really, except for the gifs of the porgs. So
Yeah, I've tried to stay like far away from trailers, but here's the thing: they play when before my movies. Like I can avoid trailers on YouTube like nobody's business, but like when I'm in the theater and like if I'm by myself, I can just walk out. But if I'm like with people, which happens sometimes, then like I could sit there and close my ears and like chant or run out of the theater screaming. But I don't know. I would just rather save little face and just deal with it. So
all right,
yeah.
so
I have seen the trailer is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But apparently the trailer is like purposefully misleading about twists, which I actually appreciate because now it's like the anti-spoiler trailer. So I'm into that, I guess.
yeah, I think there's a point where they were using misleading marketing to make people more excited about bad movies, and then they realized they could get away with it, and so now they're harnessing that evil for other purposes, I guess.
Yeah, I'm good with that because now it's like it's like, you know what it is? It's like that friend who hasn't seen the movie and jokingly spoils it for you.
Yeah.
Like gives away a fake twist. So like thanks, I guess. I would rather that than like those trailers that basically give away like all the major beats of the movie. So I'm into that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So enough talk about the movie we're going to spend all next episode talking about, and also everyone's going to be sick of hearing about. I have a thing to talk about. Are you guys excited and ready?
I'm ready for your thing.
I'm ready.
Okay, get ready to accept my thing. I heard...
I yearn for your thing, Austin.
Oh, God, I'm so glad to hear that finally. Okay, so I heard a very troubling sentence recently.
Oh.
It shook me to my core. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I think it's very illustrative of the times we live in. I think it says a lot. It almost speaks for itself, really, and I want to relay it to you. There really isn't any other context. My friend just said this to me, and I have to live with it. Now everyone else will. So I'm going to stop speaking in a moment and give a couple seconds pause for us to prepare ourselves, and then I'm just going to say the sentence.
Okay.
All right.
Home Depot has a podcast.
Like
That's
like
not.
is it
That's not that surprising.
is it
Why?
it's not surprising because everything, I mean, I assume it's a lot of oh, you know what, that actually, I mean, look, I would love to play along and be like, what, but like in all seriousness, I bet it's probably about tips about home improvement, and it has a reasonable amount of followers.
No, nope, wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. I took a wild, I guess, at it. Then what is it? Is it just commercials for Home Depot?
So here's the thing. When he said this to me, and I don't know how he got this information, but it had one episode. So this was like a couple weeks ago. I've just remembered the sentence because we checked it recently, and it had like 3 episodes. So they just started and they're going with it. So they're committed. I only got through a couple seconds of it. From what I can tell, they're like interviews with like mid-level like paper pusher people. So I heard the part I heard, guys, like, yeah, I was just getting off my flight in Denver, and I got a call from the regional manager for saws, and he was like, "We got a big order for all these saws." It was just totally deadpan.
So it's like an intra-community, or it's like an intra-company newsletter.
I
Where it's like,
have no
this
idea.
week we're going to talk to Dave. He manages screwdrivers.
It's something like that, but I'm just like, who's the audience for it? We have so much competition. I don't want to fuck with Home Depot, is what I'm trying to say. They have, okay, oh my god, okay, I'm on their page now. First of all, the Home Depot podcast is...
I'm looking it up now as well because I have to.
It's called Give Me an H, And the description is, Give Me an H explores Home Depot's unique culture through the eyes and experiences of associates who live it every day. It has, on this page I'm on, 1 episode, actually, and it has 4 downloads, 2 of which are me and my roommate.
So I think you've got this wrong, that we're going to be fucking with Home Depot. I think Home Depot is going to be fucking with us.
And yeah, episode 1 features Ted Decker, the company's executive vice president of merchandising. He talks about...
Ooh, the deck?
No, his name is Decker. He's not...
No, I know. I'm being a dick.
Oh.
Like, oh, it's the deck.
Oh, they're talking to the deck itself.
Yeah.
About all the good nails and boards and so forth. But he talks in this episode
my
about
God.
the entrepreneurial mindset, caring for fellow associates, and a passion for extraordinary service. Guys, what is culture? What is companies? What is 2017?
Here's the thing. Here's what I think happened.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, "Hey, you know what's hip right now?" And by right now, 12 years ago, someone said podcasts, and someone said to someone, "Hey, could you make a podcast about Home Depot?" And they came up with a bunch of ideas, but all of the ideas paint Home Depot in a bad light. Like you can't ask like customers like for funny stories about going to Home Depot and they fuck it up, or employees about bad customers. You can't do a podcast version of the webcomic Retail. So they just said, oh, so it just has to basically be a big advertisement for Home Depot and nothing else, and that's it.
Yeah, but Leon, your first instinct, right? Your first instinct when you heard that there was a Home Depot podcast, and you're like, oh, it must be like one of these DIY things where it's like, today we're going to be talking about plumbing. That seems so fucking natural to do.
Yeah.
Right?
But it also seems like it takes effort, whereas you can just call Ted and say, "Hey, Ted, the Ted Man, we're going to need you for this podcast." And he's like, "All right, I'm on deck."
Yeah, but how long do you think the legs for that podcast are?
I look.
You get 6 episodes in, and you're calling the deck again and being like, "Do you got any other stories for us, deck?"
Yeah. Okay, I'm on the iTunes page now, which has all 3 episodes. So I wasn't going crazy. There are 3 uploaded. They're just not on the other feed I was looking at. I don't know. Whoever's uploading this is doing a whack job. So there are 3, and the description on iTunes actually has another sentence. It says, "It offers insider perspectives into how bleeding orange shapes careers and installs an appreciation for what can happen when a company commits to doing good while also doing well." I'm sorry, what was that fucking Lynchian shit in the middle of that sentence, Home Depot?
Bleeding orange?
Now, yeah.
Oh, I get it. When they like, we here at Home Depot, we bleed orange.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, okay.
Episode 2 is called Value-Based Culture, whatever that means. And the description is, Tim Horrigan, Executive Vice President of Human Resources, shares how the concept of being orange-blooded, that's in parentheses, grew from the founder's belief that if the company takes care of its associates, and then it just cuts off because I guess an RSS feed error. Cool.
Austin, it's because if the idea that they could care about their associates is so preposterous that they couldn't finish the sentence.
It has 1 review on iTunes.
What is the all right. No. First of all, yes, but it's by someone named Garden Supervisor, so it's obviously someone who works at Home Depot. He said, "I love the information."
I love the information, raves Garden Supervisor. We have
right.
How deep does this corruption go?
Right. Here's the funny thing about this, besides everything else. The first 2 episodes were released on the same day, so they really wanted to grab us. So it's like one of those backdoor pilots for a TV show where like the first episode is 2 hours long.
Yeah, they came out swinging with, was it Tim and Ted? Yeah, Ted Decker and Tim Horrigan just came out with the 2 T's, they call them. They just came out
I'm
talking
really looking
about
forward.
bleeding orange.
I'm really looking forward to Todd Gardenhose he's going to be in episode 4.
Yeah, I hope so. The third episode is the President of Northern Division.
Oh God! Wow, Mr. President, how did you? What? That's a get.
Crystal Hanlon, who oversees nearly 800 stores. Wow, damn, killing it, Crystal.
Pardon me, Miss President. I didn't mean to gender Home Depot.
Nothing but respect for my president.
Right.
More executive experience. Crystal probably could do a better job. Politics. Anyway.
Okay.
So that's a horrifying journey. I didn't mean to take you all on. I just thought that sentence was funny, but then we did a deep dive and we uncovered, I guess, like the Gamergate of hardware store podcasts.
Collusion has to be mentioned. So I just don't trust a garden supervisor to give me an impartial review of a podcast that they are obviously attached to in some form or another. This is some next level shit, guys.
Crystal Hanlon oversees nearly 800 stores. First of all, respect. Okay, because I like just paying attention. Second of all, like. Why? It says at the bottom, the company's unique culture made her job more than a paycheck. What are you talking about? What is the unique culture of Home Depot? Are there traditions? Do they have a different Christmas?
It's the very frequent blood transfusions, I think. They got a lot of plasma up in that bitch.
Oh my. So that's neat, I guess.
That's a word for it.
It is. Cool.
Oh, Leon. Someday you're going to learn how to transition a podcast from one topic to the next. I'm going to be so proud of you.
Dude, I told you. I'm done. Those were my 3. I'm out.
Uh-huh.
It's over. I could talk about, like, dumb stuff that's happening in my life. Nope. It's all pretty good. Nah, everything's fine.
I was hoping this week has been so much. Like we talked about, there was the election, there was the whole thing with the racist mom. There was just every day is like a new thing. There was a fucking Zootopia pro-life comic that was blowing up my timeline for like 30 hours and then disappeared and no one's talked about it since. It's just
no. People have made memes about it since, but the original doesn't matter anymore.
No, that's what I'm saying, the meme period. I don't know if I ever saw anyone share it like the actual original. I pretty much only saw memes. But I'm just saying, like, as soon as something happens, it's over already, and then people are on to the next thing. So it's hard to keep up, Leon. I understand your struggle.
Okay. Whatever. So anyway, yeah. I like I said, I'm completely out of topics. I'm trying to think if there's anything interesting that happened to me this week, but mostly it was just, getting work done, trudging through life, very carefully. Nothing is, too bad. There was a minor flood in my apartment, but it's fine. I mopped it up.
Someday,
that's it.
Someday, Leon, they're gonna talk about you the way they talk about like Shakespeare. It's just like you take any small thing and just spin a yarn out of it and just regale you for days.
It was fine. Like I either the kitchen sink got clogged up somehow, or like while the water was running, like a cup fell and blocked the hole and like and it filled up, and then I had it mopped up, and it's not a big deal. And the maintenance guy came by just to check, and everything's okay. And that was the most exciting thing that happened to me this week.
I loved it. Another classic Leon clogged hole story. In other news, do you guys hear about the Fox Disney deal, which is supposed to close tomorrow as of this, or they're going to announce it tomorrow as of this recording? Yeah. Do we have thoughts? Because it's one of those things where it's like everyone's like, ooh, now we get X-Men and good movies. And then it's immediately everyone else is like, hold on, actually, culture monopoly.
Yeah. It's kind of... Look, monopolies aren't are never really good for the consumer. By definition, I guess, so it's... I could... Basically, it's like this. People can... give you like numbers and articles and history about why this is such a terrible thing. It's just hard to convince people of like possible long-term damage to the entertainment industry, or at least to the consumers end of the entertainment industry, when there's just the immediacy of like a possible X-Men Avengers team up. I was talking with someone like yeah, this Disney thing sucks, but wouldn't it be cool at the end of Avengers if the X-Men showed up? Because I would find that fun for like 10 seconds. But I don't know if it's worth it.
I mean, the thing I'm always saying about the Avengers movies is there's just not enough characters, you know? Like, they have so much time to really flesh everybody out and give them all stories. And I'm always thinking, like, what if there were more, though? That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm at. I don't know about you guys.
Okay.
Your streaming structure is gonna change. Like, a lot of things are gonna go missing from like Hulu and Netflix and things like that once this deal gets done.
Yeah,
And that,
it's also
Disney streaming service is just gonna have so much stuff on it.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple more deals, and we're just gonna. Your day is gonna be like you get out of your Amazon bed and you go to your Disney school, and then you come home and eat an Amazon lunch while watching your Disney news, and then you go to sleep in your Amazon bed. It's just gonna be like two companies forever and ever. Amen. So.
Right.
I
think
you got to sprinkle some Google in there.
Yeah. When I was younger, I like made the joke that there's only two companies. Because every company I've ever heard of is actually owned by some other company. So as like a gag, I would always say, "There's only two companies, don't you know? There's only two, and the only reason anyone competes with each other is because one company is owned by this, and another company is owned by that." And I thought I was being very clever, and now it's just true. Like, I think the world ruined my fucking joke. So great. Yeah. And Disney kind of has a monopoly. Well, I shouldn't say a monopoly. That's not true. But Disney, yeah.
And by sheer monetary force, warping copyright law around them like the fucking black hole of art.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest movies of the year are Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, and those are Disney, and you know, to a lesser extent, some of the animated features. And if they also own, gosh, what is it? If they own 20th Century Fox's library, that's like Alien and Ice Age, I believe, and like a bunch of other stuff, and of course the X-Men stuff. So
yeah, I mean, Fox is huge. We can't undersell that, right? Like, they're obviously a huge conglomerate. It's like them, Warner Brothers, Universal. There's like 8 big studios or whatever. But they're going to start, like, this isn't like, oh, the big one that's going to end it. It's like, oh, now they're just going to all collapse into each other. That's what happened with the telecom stuff now with, Time Warner. They're trying to do that big merger and all that. Like, this is how it ends.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a line from a movie I like, and I feel dumb because I can't remember the name of the movie, but it stars Edward G. Robinson and Humphrey Bogart, and Robinson plays
Key Largo.
Yes, thank you, Key Largo. And
Swish.
Very good. And Humphrey Bogart says, to Edward G. Robinson, who plays like this criminal, and he says, "Well, what do you want?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then Bogart says, "I know what you want. You want more." And then he's like, "That's it. I want more." And that's and they talk about it for a while, but basically that's the whole point. All he really wants is more, and he'll never get enough. And that is how capitalism works. Okay, so
I'm glad someone else said it. I feel like I'm becoming a broken record, and like no one, like if people start tuning me out, because every week I'm just like, burr, 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 Bernie Sanders is my dad, and it's just like we know. So thank you, Leon, for lending a hand there.
No, it's fine.
All of this Fox Disney stuff is a good transition into another thing that I have to talk about, which is I saw one of the only good Fox superhero movies, Logan. Have you guys seen this film?
Yep.
Yes.
Loved it.
Oh, cool. We can talk about it together like friends.
Okay.
I liked it. It's good. I have some issues. Mostly, I think they kind of fumbled their villain situation. They started off with a very charismatic mercenary guy, and then halfway through the movie, he just kind of fades into the background, and then they introduced like this scientist guy who has like 2 lines, and then a third, spoilers, antagonist I'm not going to identify, who has 0 lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that feels like a mistake. That's not what I would have done, because with no lines can't do much, and the cool guy who I actually thought had a lot going on kind of just gets beat up by non-Wolverine people off screen. Well, not off screen, but not, it's not the big showdown you want out of it. And that kind of made the whole thing less satisfying.
That makes sense, but I feel like if the villain was just constantly in how do I put this? If the villain was just like this constant threat, then we wouldn't have all of that. A lot of the downtime in the movie was like the best part. Like when they go to the farm and they meet the family. There's like this
Which
huge
is such a why. I actually like yelled at my TV. I was like, "Hey, idiots! Remember everything else? Remember the last hour of the thing that's happening?" It was very contrived, and I was kind of like, it was well done. Everything about this movie is well done. The acting, the cinematography, the music. But like every decision every character makes is just howlingly stupid.
Okay, fair enough. But no, I loved that the movie wasn't really about like an external threat so much as was about the fact that Logan is dying. And that's it, and it's more about what's going on with him and with the professor and with the girl, more than like we're being chased by that guy with the arm. I mean, he's around, but like, eh.
I mean, that's true, and I definitely agree that focusing on the emotional stuff is more important. My problem was more that they kept introducing other things and expecting us to care and be invested in them. And like, I don't remember that. I don't remember those guys' names. Like, who was that doctor? Can you remember his name? I can't. Who cares? Who is he?
I don't. Yeah, you're right in that I don't remember their names, but I'm bad at that. I'm just bad at that in general. So I couldn't remember the name of the movie Key Largo, even though I really never mind. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You probably have a point. That is a similar issue that I had with Moana, because there was just no villain until like almost at all. But there was enough. There were enough threats and antagonists in Logan that I barely had a problem with that. I was mostly just invested in the relationship stuff and Professor X saying fuck. So
that was very good. That actually highlights something about the movie I think is cool, which is that it just admits that all of the superhero films of this era, I mean all of them forever really, but especially now, are just fan fiction. Like, nobody who wrote these characters is involved anymore, and even if they come from comic premises, like, I know there's a story called Old Man Logan, this is, like, very, very, very loosely based on. Like, this is fan fiction of elements of a story, of a remake of a story, right? Like, these are just new people playing with these toys, and that it's cool, but this is very, very much highlighted, because it's like, this is in the near future. Everything's a little bit different, but mostly the same. And also a bunch of people are dead, and some people have like different stuff. And it's just like, it definitely feels like really a highly polished fan fiction. And I don't mean that derisively. I think it's cool, but most films don't admit that in the way Logan does.
Okay.
No, nobody else? Johnny?
I've read the story that it was based on. I have the trade paperback of Old Man Logan, and it's honestly one of my favorite comic books. It is, but it's like having it made a little difficult for me to enjoy the movie because beg your pardon. Like in the comic book, you have access to like, the entire Marvel universe, right? So there's actually like there's a lot of weight to this concept that like, that Logan is like the last surviving superhero. Where it's just like once everybody else is gone, he's like the only one left, And I don't know. the source material was so good. Not having like, yeah, it made it difficult for me to enjoy the movie because there was so much extra weight in the source material in the comic book, where it's like you learn like what happened to the X-Men and like what happened to the Avengers, and like one of the major villains in it is Red Skull, like it was really, really bleak, and I
hear it's gross.
I think because of that, I agree that like the best parts of the movie were the most intimate scenes.
Yeah.
Like the most emotional. I didn't really care so much for, we better chase the Logan guy down because he's got a little girl and we're gonna need her, and yeah, like the scenes between Logan and Professor X and things like that were just so tight. I think it's really easy to forget how good an actor Hugh Jackman is when like his most popular roles that we keep getting exposed to are, Hugh Jackman's going to be growly again for another 90 minutes. But that's like, I mean, that is some pretty tremendous casting. Hugh Jackman and Sir Patrick Stewart acting off of one another, and they really gave it in the movie. There was a lot of charisma on screen at pretty much any given time.
Hugh Jackman was in The Fountain, so I will love him forever. That's how I feel.
That's your one qualification for being Leon's favorite. Everybody else is fucked.
He was in The Fountain, so like he was very good in that. I mean, he's been in a lot of good movies. We remember him as Wolverine, but he could act for another like 40 years, and this, for all we know, this might be like not even his most famous role.
That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Johnny, you read the source material. Is there a lot of political stuff in there? Because I was struck by how this really intimate road trip about like fatherhood and being sad at the end of like an era had a lot of stuff where they talked about like, oh, we got to get this girl. She's copyrighted. The corporation wants to avoid products liability. Also, Big Corn has taken over these small farms.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. The source material is very different. His daughter does not feature in it at all. Instead of being Professor X, it is Logan on a cross-country road trip with Hawkeye, who is basically smuggling a bunch of sort of refound super soldier serum that made Captain America, because he's like, yeah, I want to make a brand new like Avengers team, and like the Hulk has this huge like McCoy style family that like owns the southwest of America.
Yeah, I've heard about the Cannibal Hulk. Is that this one, right?
Yeah. There is a scene in particular where Bruce Banner decides to chow down on Wolverine and does not take thorough enough bites. But yeah, like it's, there's a whole like Red Skull runs the government. He's the president now, and like they own S.H.I.E.L.D. So there's a scene where like S.H.I.E.L.D. busts Hawkeye and Logan. And yeah, it's sort of like just as the course of the book goes on, you learn the fates of like all these other famous Marvel superheroes. Like there's a scene where they're driving by Ant-Man's corpse, and it's just like a mountain range, just this giant skeleton, Yeah, you learn what happened to the X-Men, and like why Wolverine isn't violent anymore, because it's a big thing that he doesn't take his claws out anymore. It's like the movie really picked a bunch of new themes.
Yeah, it moved the guilt thing to Professor X.
Yeah,
he's the one who feels bad about his backstory now.
Yeah. So it's like it's a very different thing, Like I really enjoyed it. Like I almost wouldn't even say that like Old Man Logan is like anywhere close to it. Like it's a very, very sparse relation.
Yeah,
in terms of content.
That's what I'm saying. Logan the film is just kind of fan fiction what if in a parallel universe of a story that is slightly an adaptation of this other thing, but
yeah.
But that's all comics now.
It is, yeah. It's interesting to see, like, particularly I like the little in-universe nods to the comic books and things like that. Like, I thought that was a fun little detail.
Yeah.
That even in the worlds that these characters inhabit, they're still like deeply mythologized.
Yeah. So it's definitely good, and I feel like I probably didn't spend enough time talking about the good stuff about it, but I think it's a pretty critically acclaimed movie. People know it's good. The things I found more interesting were my own weird neuroses about like the fucking political stuff and all that. But
yeah, it's very much a product of its time. Like
Yeah.
it's very contemporary.
like people are gonna look back on it as like the issue of automated shipping with unmanned cars in, like that whole scene is like it was first noted in Logan 2017. Like that's gonna be that's gonna be a cultural thing. People are like look back on and be like, oh yeah, they called that one. But probably most people were like, I like the part where he stabbed the guys and then the little girl did the shriek. She does that a lot.
It's tough. It's tough to say that it was fun, because like superhero movies are mostly fun. Even if they're not great, I usually have fun watching them. But Logan was not a very fun movie. It was dour.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was going for, and they nailed it. It's a dystopic hard R.
Yeah.
Also, this is definitely lizard brain Austin speaking, but it was nice to see Wolverine do the Wolverine thing, which is hack people with his claws, which should be the only thing he ever does. But somehow they went through 6 movies of that not really happening.
Yeah. Not a lot of it.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to move to a different thing now. Hopefully you guys can talk about this one too. That will be nice for me. A fun surprise, friends talking together on the show. I saw another movie. It's called Kong Skull Island. Have you guys Oh god,
Sorry.
that was nice.
Sorry, I just genuinely don't like that movie.
Okay, then tell me.
God, I'm trying to conjure up my memories of this thing. I can scarcely remember it.
Okay, that's not a good sign.
It's not. I felt like the pacing was shit. Like we were just bouncing around too much in the first act. I had no sense of place.
Yeah, it's very Rogue One in the opening, where it just jumps to a bunch of unrelated scenes of people I don't know, and they talk.
First of all, eat my butt.
Nom 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 nom.
No, it's just terrible. I just. Okay, so Cog Skull Island. Once they get to the island, it's not awful, but God, I'm trying to remember why I hate this movie. It's just I don't even remember enough about it to give like a proper review here. I'm sorry, I'm failing on this one.
I mean, that speaks for itself in a way that it didn't leave that much of an impression on you. I mean, okay, so I'll say some things that maybe it'll jog your brain hole.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing I noticed when this movie started was that it was financed by Tencent, which is a Chinese company that owns basically every video game publisher at this point. They've invested in pretty much half of the mobile market and heavily in Riot, the League of Legends people. They're in a couple of years they are going to be Video Games the company. So I thought that was weird when I first saw that. It's apparently it was a big hit in China too, and there's a bunch of tertiary Chinese characters in there. So my alarms were going off in my head about this action movie's motives. But then I was kind of surprised because it does, as you say, go into a bunch of character stuff, which feels like maybe they were going for the Godzilla thing, the American one, where they spent an hour and a half getting to Godzilla, but that doesn't happen. Like 20 minutes in, they get to the island and Kong starts murdering people. And I had many times during this movie where I went, wow, that's a really good shot. Oh, God, no, that's terrible. Like, it vacillates wildly between beauty and ugliness.
All right, here's the thing. There's a difference between a shot that is stylized and a shot that has good visual information. Kong Skull Island, like many shots in a Zack Snyder movie, are stylized, but there's the connective tissue of it just doesn't ground me in what's going on.
Yeah, the editing is choppy in a way where it feels like
Yes!
they teleport a little bit from where they need to be. Or they had different teams working on different CGI, and then they kind of just trying to glue them together.
I mean, this whole movie.
But
now I remember it. It was made in a blender. That's why I didn't like it. It was a blender movie.
It was a blender movie for the Chinese market. But like Zack Snyder, which you attack so very frequently, and I am often forced to play this roles, I do find the action pretty good. Maybe I'm just a teenage jock somewhere in my heart, but
you are. What the hell?
I'm sorry. I liked when the monsters punched each other in Skull Island, and I like when the people stab each other in 300. I know that they're not good, but I enjoy it. My eye meat enjoys the punching.
Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to remember what else I hated about this movie. I definitely hated the end credit scene because it suggested there will be more.
Oh yeah, it's a reboot of the King Kong versus Godzilla universe. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Who cares? I'm sorry, but can I just say this? Who cares who wins between King Kong and Godzilla? It's not. Listen, this isn't like Batman v Superman. As much as I dislike that movie, the intriguing part of if I hate to use that word, the interesting part about Batman v Superman is that Batman, traditionally speaking, not so much in the movie, but traditionally speaking, Batman and Superman hold somewhat different ideologies and worldviews. Okay? So seeing Batman fight Superman is not just like, oh, will the batarangs work? Or, oh, heat vision will just melt him. It's an issue of, like, believing in the characters. Godzilla doesn't have a character. King Kong doesn't have a character. They're just big lugs, and they're going to run into each other.
That's enough for some people.
I understand that. Apparently it's enough for Austin. Austin is like rock hard at the very idea that one of those guys will punch the other guy. So like yeah, have fun, Austin. But this isn't like, if they both die, isn't that the best outcome because that's better for humanity? Who am I rooting for? Who's the good guy?
I mean, that's the thing about both those franchises is they're both kind of like anti-heroes, right? It turns out, it always. But I actually don't care who wins between Kong and Godzilla. What I like about Kong movies and Godzilla movies is the other creatures. Like, whenever they go to Skull Island, there's always, like, dinosaurs and shit. Like, I like that. Skull Island had a bunch of those. Like, there's these two-legged, serpent, skull-headed fucking motherfuckers in there. I really liked their design. It was some Dark Souls shit. And Godzilla always has like three-headed dragons and like turtles who can fly and shit. I love that. That's just awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, it's the only monster you can root for is Gamera because he's friend to children.
Yeah.
So you know a little about his social politics.
We all know Leon loves children. Okay, I have a Renegade cut question about Kong Skull Island because
if I can remember it, I'll try.
Okay, this movie is set in the 70s for some reason.
They tried to do this whole like, let's try to be as deep and or I guess as Apocalypse Now and get that whole feel, but instead of going as deep as Apocalypse Now, it's more like someone skipped a rock across the water, and that's about how deep they went.
The main character's name is Conrad.
I understand that. Look,
no, I know you do. That's why I'm bringing this to you.
It's fucking terrible. Look, you can't just reference something and that makes it good. Okay, it's not enough. Obviously, they went with that whole feel. But they're not. What was the point? That we are the real monsters? Is that what they were going for? That like tired cliche? Like, I guess we found out who the real 800-pound gorilla thing is, or something.
I think there's two possibilities. One is that they were trying to draw a parallel between the American soldiers who went to Vietnam and then went into a jungle and died there for no reason, and all of the soldiers in this movie who go into a jungle and die for no reason. Or they had the budget to buy like 3 Creedence Clearwater songs, and they fucking went for it. And then they built a whole movie around that, because they got Bad Mood Rising, and they got fucking, I don't know if they had Run Through the Jungle, and I think they didn't have Fortunate Son. They didn't quite have the Fortunate Son money, but they definitely got 2.
Okay. Yeah, I just hated it. I hate it, and speaking, and just like bringing this back, speaking of Zack Snyder, I super hated that scene where Tom Hiddleston is wearing like a gas mask, and they're like 300ing his way through like the bad guys, like slow-mo, and like, oh, and then I'm gonna do this and like swing my body and like, oh, look, I'm an action star now. It's like, fuck you.
Killing pterodactyls with a katana in slow motion with choreography in green smoke, wearing a gas mask. That sounds like an acid trip from Tumblr. It's amazing.
Awful. No, you're bad.
No, it's bad, but I like it.
Oh God, the movie. I'm remembering how I felt about the movie. I felt like I kept sighing. I think that was my reaction to a lot of this. Just like, I didn't want to go see it. I didn't think it was going to be good, but a friend of mine wanted to go see it, and we go to see movies together. So I was like, whatever, I just like going to the movies. So like, if you want to go, I'll probably will go see it. But this was not a thing I was expecting to see, and it was not a thing I was expecting to like, and I hated it. But I thought it would be like passable, because like, yeah, all right, you can't really fuck up a King Kong movie that badly. It's just, it's just like a fun romp. And it's like, no. And I'm sorry, but I know that like the director of this movie is like famously cagey about it on social media. So I hope he doesn't hear this podcast. But I
hope he does. Movie. I liked your movie, dude. I liked the part where the pterodactyls ripped that guy into pieces, and then everyone just totally was not fazed by it at all. Went about their day making like Marvel wisecrack jokes.
Yeah, Okay, so Nothing against you, the guy who made this movie, who I'm sure had a tremendous amount of like studio pressure to do a bunch of things that you probably didn't even want. But the movie was still bad. Like I flooded my apartment earlier, and just because it was an accident doesn't mean it wasn't my fault. So anyway,
seamless analogy.
Yeah, exactly. That's something from my life I can bring to the table. So anyway, movie was bad.
Okay, I have a couple more things I want to say about real quick before we move on to the questions, because it's about that time. One, how wild was the cast? They got fucking Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman. Like, it was popping in there. John C. Reilly shows up.
Yeah, Brie Larson is in it, and pretty much, yeah. I mean, the cast is great, but that doesn't mean
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm sorry. Because it's not a movie. Here's the thing. Great cast, great actors, but it's not a movie that hinges on big emotional acting scenes at all. So it doesn't add that much to it, except to say, oh, I like movies that have John Goodman in it. So like Brie Larson is a really good actress. But like there aren't like these great moments for her to like bust out her acting chops or anything like that. Like John Goodman like has like a few really good roles, but there's no like, oh, this is the big emotional John Goodman scene. And it's like, was there one? And that's that. So like, yeah, great cast in a movie that can't really utilize it because it's a big action movie with slow motion green smoke.
Yeah, I mean, half the thing is just them making like one-liners in front of green screens, and the other is just monsters killing soldiers that are from a different movie. It's very weird. The other thing was, how fucking amazing was it when they were scouring the entire island for this one guy, and while, you know, several scenes away from that guy, another creature came by and just so happened to barf up his dog tags right in front of them.
I don't even remember that scene. I'll assume you're correct.
The math on that, the improbability on that is phenomenal. It felt like a D&D game where it's like, I rolled a crit for investigation. I happened to find a clue from an unrelated town written on a piece of paper in this library or something. It was the worst writing I've ever seen, and I adored it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My joy brings you sadness, Leon.
No. Look. I don't want to be the kind of guy who what is that phrase that you use? The young people do.
Oh, the yuck the yum.
Yeah, I don't want to yuck your yum. Like, if you enjoyed it, great. I mean, you're wrong, but that's cool. I mean, your enjoyment is bad. But you. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness, yeah, people should enjoy the things that they enjoy. I'm not trying to like shit on anyone who enjoyed the movie, and I am sorry if that came across, but I am saying that the movie is shit, and that is different. There you go.
Bad
That's
movie.
what I got.
Loved it a lot. Question time?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. I should have looked through these before. I was too excited about the dang monkey movie, guys. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's getting about this time of year. Toshiro Crew asks any game/movie/book of the year opinions. I know, Leon, you don't want to give away your cool big video, but if you have any tertiary thoughts about that, are you guys thinking about any favorites just to cap off this hell year?
Twin Peaks was a big one for me. Mm-hmm. The Return of Twin Peaks was big. Blade Runner 2049 too. I really, really liked.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still sifting through my music collection. There was a lot of good music that came out this year. Lots. And I didn't play many games this year at all, actually, so don't really have much on that front.
As we all know, I read a lot of books this year. But I think the only book that actually came out this year is the one I'm reading right now that I mentioned earlier. It's by Chris Hayes. So I can't really give like the books that I read aren't recent is what I'm trying to say. And the movie thing, yeah, I'm saving that for the video. What is other media that I consume? Jesus, that's it, isn't it? That's what I do with my life. Those two things. I watch TV shows as well. What was good this year? Shit, I'm sorry. I'm completely spacing on this one.
That's okay. I'll help pick up the slack while you think a little bit. I definitely think the best album released this year was probably Damn by Kendrick Lamar. It was obviously nominated for Best Album at the Grammys, one of the few times they got it, so hopefully he wins that. 2017 was also the best year, if not in video game history, at least in the last decade. We got the best Zelda of all time, the best Mario of all time, probably the best multiplayer shooter of all time in Battlegrounds, at least for the user experience, if not the game technically. Horizon Zero Dawn, a big open world, probably one of the best ever. Best mobile game ever. Fire Emblem Heroes, at least for me. Like, everything is cracking. Nier Automata, obviously. So I could. There's too many games. It's honestly overwhelming. Films, I haven't seen all of them.
Prey was really good.
Oh, I haven't got around to it yet.
I never finished it, but I played like I was just like, I'm just gonna dip my toes in the water here, and I played for like 10 hours.
Yeah. I do want to play that, but this year was so... Every moment I had to play a game was like the most fun I usually have in any other year. Like
it was a crazy dense. I mean, even though I didn't play many video games this year, it was a crazy dense year for games. Like insanely saturated.
We did not deserve it. I feel like video games as a community, as a industry, as a fandom, got more than it earned. But sometimes that's how it be. I like to think it's like an overcorrection of all the intense criticism we were giving them about doing good storytelling and having like, you know, women and stuff in them, and then they just kind of did it all at once, which was fun.
Yeah.
The only movie that came out this year that I saw that I can remember is Get Out, which is obviously very good, and I talked about it before. So I'll eventually see the other ones, right? Like I want to see that movie about billboards in Alabama or whatever. What's that one called?
3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
That I want to see that. I still want to see it. Oh, Blade Runner. I saw too. That was very, very good. But I don't go to the theaters that often, so I'm a little behind.
Okay. I like the new season of BoJack Horseman. We talked about that earlier on a previous episode. What are the other shows that I liked? I have been... At first, I kind of strongly disliked it, but I am really warming up to the new Star Trek show, so that's good for me. I like the new season of Veep. We never really talk about that on this show, but it's good. Everyone kind of knows that by now. Yeah, the things that I do are mostly movie related and book related, so I don't have like I don't listen to the music or play the gamey things.
Yeah, and as far as books go, it's like I really like the new edition of my tax law textbook. It really cleared up the earned income credit.
Oh,
so yeah, sorry.
Okay, sounds terrible.
So this question is for all of us, but I think it's most applicable to Leon probably. Yuzuki asks, how do you feel about people in real life seeing you, and if they're not being overly creepy or weird, saying hello or talking to you about your work?
That's fine. It happens a lot at conventions, even ones where I'm not the guest, where I'm just kind of there. It doesn't happen like outside there though. Like people don't walk up to me on the street. It's like, hey, I like that new thing that you just did on YouTube. Like I'm not, my show is not that huge, and my face is only on some videos. So even if someone like is walking down the sidewalk right next to me and is subscribed to my channel, there's still not a great chance that they will recognize me immediately. So that doesn't happen outside of conventions, but when it does happen at conventions, that's fine. People just say, hi, I just wanted to say, I like your show. And I'm like, okay, what's your name? And then I shake their hand and ask them their name. And if they ask for a picture, that is also okay. It's not a big deal. So that's fine. People comment on my work dozens of times every day, and I have to read all of them. So when it also happens in like the meat space, it's not that different. It's just not. And that's basically it.
I got recognized once when I was still working at the game store, at the tabletop gaming store. That was weird.
Weird in a good way or weird in a bad way?
Well, weird in a good way. I mean, that was that was back when we were still doing the BT podcast, right?
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and somebody recognized me, and that was just like I thought the odds of that were a little deep.
Yeah.
But I mean, in theory, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I'm basically faceless on the internet. I could walk right by you two probably, and the chances of you recognize me, I think, are actually pretty low.
I've seen one picture of you, and I'm sorry, but I barely remember what you look like.
Yeah, I'm just a white
sorry.
guy. I'm just I'm the default in the Skyrim custom character creator for like human. You wouldn't even think twice if I walked right by you. So I don't think anyone will ever recognize me, and that's fine. If they did, I would be totally fine with it too. But
yeah,
not a concern for me.
Okay.
Another Leon-centric one, Cyretha. Oh, that's fun. Wreath like the Christmas for December. Cool.
Awesome.
Asks, Leon, any predictions / hopes for Clash of Champions PPV wrestling?
I think that this will mean nothing to you guys.
Yes, I'm excited. Give it to me.
Basically, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are doing this thing where they're two heel wrestlers, and they're rebelling against the person who like in storyline owns SmackDown Live, the show on Tuesday, the son of Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, and because they believe they're being treated unfairly, they almost have a case, but not entirely, because they're bad guys. And the story going into the show is that the guy who's like second in command of the show, whose name is Daniel Bryan, who used to be a wrestler but now is he can't because of his head, is like there's like the narrative is that like will Daniel Bryan side with them or with Shane, and it's like, ooh, the intrigue. What I think is going to happen is that Shane McMahon is going to get knocked out because he's playing the special guest referee, and then Daniel Bryan is going to come and like count the 3 count in favor of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And Shane is going to be like, what does this mean? Was he just being fair, or is he siding with them? And everyone is going to go, oh, well, I guess we better watch SmackDown next week to find out. So that is what I predict will happen, because it seems kind of obvious if you're watching the show. If you're not, everything I just said was bullshit, and it means nothing. It's just a bunch of names and words. But that's what I'm expecting to happen. I'm expecting AJ Styles to retain the championship because they gave up on Jinder Mahal, because the whole idea was that he would help the Indian market, and it didn't at all. It made it worse somehow, which was amazing. So I don't think they're going to give him the title back. They would be crazy to do that. And those are like the main things. I guess there's the 2 big matches. I am looking forward to the tag match. Because Aiden English actually gets a match. He's like he's like kind of been like a lesser guy for a long time, and now he has a match on a pay-per-view. So I'm excited for that, and it should be fun. And that's it.
I understood a couple of those words. I know Daniel Bryan, he kicks people, or like he knees them in the head when he jumps. Sometimes.
I mean, he used to, but now he doesn't do any of that because he hurt his head a bunch of times, and now WWE will not clear him to wrestle. So. That's what that situation is. He wants to still do it because doctors outside of WWE have said that yes, he can still go, but WWE is understandably more cautious because it's their company, and if he gets hurt on their watch, then they are, responsible, or at least to their shareholders. It looks very bad. So Brian has said that he is at the end of his contract with WWE. If they don't let him wrestle, he's just going to leave and go wrestle in Japan. And we'll see how that works out.
Japan, notorious enemy of brains.
What?
They don't care if you get concussions, because I don't know what the joke really was there, except for the fact that going to Japan to escape concussion rules seems kind of wild.
No, look, yeah, no, you make, all right, here's the thing, Austin, you were actually right, because in Japan they do work a stiffer style, and they do headbutt each other sometimes. Someone headbutted someone, and the person who did the headbutting can never wrestle again because he headbutted him too hard.
Oh, the ultimate butt.
It was. I shouldn't have laughed. It's really terrible. Everyone thought he was going to die, but then he didn't. This is a bad conversation to have.
Wait, I thought they were supposed to like pull their punches or their headbutts. You gotta.
No. They work. They just work a stiffer style there.
Oh, gosh.
Where they're not legitimately trying to knock each other out, because then the match would stop and people would be upset because it's supposed to go another 20 minutes. But they sort of lay it in a little harder over there, and they do spots that they shouldn't.
It's terrifying that I'm starting to understand all your sentences. Chris Larios from Dice Funk, the other show we do, has been sending me a lot of wrestling videos in anticipation of some season 4 shenanigans going on in my other show. So first of all, I got hyped about that. Second of all, I've seen videos of Daniel Bryan now, so I know what you're talking about, and I'm just having an existential panic that someday I will have to talk about this.
You're going to.
Scary.
That's the way it is. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to ask the next question, unless, Johnny, you have any wrestle thoughts?
Not really, no.
He likes when they hug.
They do hug each other a lot. Yeah, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the people I talked about, they hug each other very openly and kiss each other on the cheek sometimes. They very much love each other. It's great.
That's my favorite part.
It's very good. All right, softball here. James Neely asks, smooth or crunchy?
You mean?
Oh no.
People have strong opinions. People have strong opinions about this. Be careful. I've seen it get nasty. This is the internet. Remember the sandwich hot dog thing?
Yep.
I'll have either, but I would prefer crunchy. But I would never turn down a peanut butter sandwich. That is what we're talking about, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I hope so.
crunchy.
Okay. I was afraid that like this was like a euphemism for something else, and I just said the dumb. Like,
No, it's a
said,
sex
the
thing,
innocent-
Leon. It's a sex thing.
In which
Yeah,
case, definitely crunchy.
Yeah, I think like Leon said, I like both. I don't have like strong feelings about it, but for sandwich purposes, crunchy gives it some texture that normally isn't present.
My local grocery store has a make your own peanut butter station, which is just like the greatest.
You're on the next
And
level.
it comes out crunchy, so that's
Okay.
like a win-win.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that, creamy sheeple. We have another question here. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but Ilmari Walker wants to know, do you think net neutrality can ever be secured, or will it be a gradual back and forth with the telecom industry until it eventually gets its way? And we also had another question about like if this is going to affect us in any way, which is, very small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. But do we have any optimism about net neutrality?
At the moment, no.
Yeah.
I'm a little pessimistic about what's going to happen over the next couple days. Like I said, we're recording this Wednesday night. By the time you're listening to this, you may be charged for it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, look, I don't know what's going to happen. I hate the idea that I might have to like start paying subscription services for like if I want to use YouTube, if I want to use Google as my main search engine. There's more to it than that. There's things like throttling that look, I'm not like the big tech guy, but I've read enough about it that it is troubling. But I don't know what else to do except maybe protest and throw a Molotov cocktail through the White House window or something.
Hell
like
yes. Hell yes.
Yeah,
Let's do
I
it.
know.
Listen,
Paul
Ryan has more ribs. We have to finish the fight.
the whole fake comment on net neutrality thing is really disappointing. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Have you seen this?
Yeah, this has been going on for a long time. AstroTurfing, the agency comment and notice process, basically, to make it seem like there are people who want to pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like it's a railroad. They're just gonna do it. They don't give a shit.
Normally, I'm the person who's going to say, like, well, if only we had a strong democratic socialist party, we could organize our resistance. But unfortunately...
I love it when you say it just like that, too.
That's how we all sound. The pragmatic, boring, realistic answer to this whole thing is that this issue has one side that is very profitable and one that is not. It's not like a situation where both sides are on even similar footing, and like one is some money and the other is more. It's just like either telecom companies get more money or not, and they have lobbyists and we don't. Like
there's no lobbyist for nothing.
Yeah, it's a really shitty position to be in politically, because how are you going to rally people around a concept as slippery and non-marketable as net neutrality? Most people don't know what that means, and even if you explained it to them, they probably wouldn't understand it. And also, there's no money to be made in it, which is what gets things done.
This really what this situation, in order for I think for it to swing back the other way, things have to get bad first. Like, and that sounds like absolutely awful, because if things are going to get bad, there's a chance that it won't swing back, because everybody will just get used to it and be like, well, I guess this is life now.
It's been a while since we talked about accelerationism, but yeah.
But I think what has to happen is it basically needs to become bad enough that people go, what the fuck happened to my internet? It's ridiculous now. And then once that's happened, though, I don't think it's coming back.
Yeah,
I think that's just it. It's just going to be like, oh, check out your new surcharge fees. Like nobody's pissed off at airlines right now.
I would have tried to shut down that argument a little bit ago, but seeing the stuff with EA and the loot boxes and how getting nerds very angry is a very practical application of that culture. It's not impossible. I'll say that. There is some light where I would have previously said there is none. But we gotta get net neutrality a marketing team or something, because the phrase is bad and no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
That's the boring truth of it.
That's my optimism, is that it's going to get way worse for you guys before it has any chance of getting better. Because people need to notice that things are shitty now.
Yeah.
And then they have to get upset about that, as opposed to, like, you know, taking a proactive stance and being like, hey, let's stop the shitty thing before it happens. Because that's apparently not really an American thing.
Also, I mean, I would prefer net neutrality, because right now the way things are is that there is at least the illusion of the internet being a kind of open forum, kind of proto-democratic in some sense, even though obviously big corporations have a lot more practical power in the space, and if losing net neutrality would give them actual on paper ability to use money to throttle the competition and install real, like, actual monopolies instead of just practical for all purposes monopolies. But isn't that the two company future we're going to, as we talked about earlier, going towards anyway? Like, net neutrality or no net neutrality, like, all roads lead to Damascus at the end of the day. Either they'll strangle them out through throttling, they'll buy their companies, they'll, you know, destroy all of the infrastructure, all the education systems. Betty DeVos will make everyone eat the Bible for kindergarten. Like, am I being?
But you will have to pay extra to get sauce to dip it in.
God, Corinthians is so dry.
Just some barbecue sauce, sweet and sour. It doesn't matter, man. Anything.
Fuck. Yeah. Also, have you guys seen that? I'm sorry to dunk on Christians. If that hurts your feelings, tune out for a second. Did you guys see that viral clip of that guy arguing on the news, and he didn't know that you could swear on something besides the Bible, and it blue screened his entire lifestyle? It was crazy too, because I just took my evidence exam, and one of the federal rules of one of the federal rules of evidence is that you have to swear, but you don't have to swear on anything in particular. And it's just like,
it was really interesting watching that guy's worldview just get, like, shocked directly to its core.
Yeah.
One should just assume you don't have to swear on a Bible just because how our Constitution works. Like, that should just be like the default assumption.
You say that, Leon, but
I know, but his default assumption was, well, I like the Bible, so that means everyone puts their hands on Bibles. Like his response to that was, well, I heard Donald Trump put his hand on a Bible. I was like, yeah, well,
he puts his hands on a lot of things he's not supposed to. I mean, maybe that guy was a time traveler from the very real time in American history when atheists were not allowed to give testimony in court.
Oh my.
Which is a real thing that I learned in law school.
Neat.
America's amazing.
Crap. One more question?
One more?
Or maybe two. I don't know. Depending on how much time.
I only get so much time to spend with you, Leon. Why you gotta do me like this?
Look, I mean, we agree on a certain amount of time, and then we release.
Thank you for phrasing it that way. I would love to release with you, Leon.
I'm very big about communal releasing with you guys.
Let's all just release together at the end of this. Molly McDade asks, have you watched Red Dwarf? And if not, why not? I feel like I get a Red Dwarf question every week, and I'm so ashamed I haven't seen it. Leon, or Johnny, explain to us why it's good, because I haven't seen it.
Okay, Red Dwarf is one of those rare crossovers that you get between science fiction and humor. There's not, like, nearly enough of that stuff in culture these days, which is, like, amazing, because science fiction, you can use science fiction to create any kind of situation that you want, and then just make it absurd, make it ridiculous, and it just, like, you're creating your own universe, and it works, but for some reason, so few people have decided to try it out. You know, the only examples I can think of off the top of my head are Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Dark Star, which is a very early John Carpenter movie about a suicidal smart bomb, and Red Dwarf. To a certain extent, Spider Robinson's Callahan's Cross Time Saloon has some kind of science fiction tie-ins and things like that. Yeah, like Red Dwarf is just it's a fantastic concoction of just an absolutely absurd idea, where the last human being alive in the universe is just the worst example of like you could possibly pick out in our race without things getting unsavory, as it were, you know. And yeah, it's just about his quest to get home. You know, he gets put in suspended animation and wakes up like 3 million years later in a part of the universe that he doesn't recognize. So he just decides, well, I guess I'm gonna go home. And over the course of his trips, you know, his trip home, he meets like a very vain creature that's descended from just a regular house cat. He's got a computer who is obviously a little deficient. Hasn't really aged too well, and then a hologram of his, like, the only person who knows him well on the ship that he's serving, who is also, like, the most insufferable person that he could possibly meet with, and it's just, like, about the absurdity of that situation, and it's so well done, and it's fantastic, and people should watch it, because it's a marvelous show.
Yeah, I have not seen the show. I have seen videos about the show on Diamanda Hagen's channel. That is how I learn about British sci-fi, and that's it. That's all I got.
It's a classic. I love it. Red Dwarf.
Brightmarsh asks, have you heard the new King Gizzard album? I haven't heard it yet, but I think it might be interesting to you too, that they released it directly into the public domain. Have you guys heard about this? I don't know of any other precedents for this, but King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which is a band I keep talking about for some reason, they've released 5 albums this year, which is nearly unprecedented. Their new one, which is unpronounceable, I'm going to try. It's called Polygondwanaland. Fucked it up very badly. They released it into the public domain. Anyone can... You actually can't buy it, even if you want to. They're not selling it. They just uploaded it onto the internet. It's for everyone. It got a 7 from Pitchfork, for what that's worth. I don't know if that means anything to anyone. I'm going to put the name in the chat if you guys want to try to say that out loud with your human mouth.
Okay.
That might be fun for you guys to try that.
I'm going to do it.
Polygondwanaland?
Yeah, that's better than I did.
Yeah.
I only know that because many years ago, Jim Thirlwell, who records under a number of names, but most notably Fetus, recorded a Steroid Maximus album called Gondwanaland. So
does that mean something? Is it Australian? They're an Australian band.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he is actually also Australian, although expatriated to New York.
Okay, I bet it's Australian.
Might be.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was cool. I know that's obviously not going to be like a precedent people are going to follow because it's not it's not fiscally sound, but it was something I think people should be aware of because it's an interesting, cool artistic thing. But all right. So last question to go out on. This is a very Johnny question. I'm very excited to hear all your tips and tricks because Nick Isaacson asks, "How does one cook the rich?"
Well, I guess that depends on what you want when you're coming out the other side. Because like it occurs to me that finding like just doing a roast would be a little difficult, right? Because finding an oven that big would be a bit of a task. So, I mean, like, what do you want? Tacos? Like,
oh man, if you were gonna eat conservative politicians, they would definitely hate being made into Mexican food. I feel like that would be the final insult.
They would.
So,
I'm sure that there's some like curry work that you could do, probably too.
At some point, this ironic cannibalism is going to get very real, and then everyone will look back at these, and these recordings will be very eerie.
Yeah. Yep. So it's just a medium like any other. Take your pick. Slow roasting, probably. I imagine that they're not very moist. I imagine like a lot of rich people are probably pretty dry.
They're a bunch of dusty fucks.
Yeah. So low temperatures, long roast, but that's a good tip for whatever you're cooking.
I love that Johnny's kind of taking this seriously.
No, I love it. Thank you. It's called
So good.
committing to the bit. It's art.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered the best year thing. The Good Place had episodes in 2017, right? That's the best 2017 show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Leon, get on that.
It's a sharp one. I like it. And it has pushed me into watching Parks and Rec finally, actually. Because I never watched Parks and Recreation. And I was like, I got to watch more TV by this Michael Schur guy cuz he's good at what he does.
Once you get past the bad episodes, it's a pretty good show.
Mm-hmm. How long does that last?
One whole season. There's a very bad season, and then everything else is pretty good.
Okay, well I'm already closing in on the end of the second season, so
Oh, you're out of it then. It's good.
yeah, excellent, good to know.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite monster from Kong Skull Island? I really like the weird spider whose legs change proportions between shots.
I never saw it.
My favorite monster from Kong Skull Island was man.
Oh, yeah, the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
The real monster.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to go because I have to finish up making my new episode. It's about Moonlight, so if you ever wanted to hear a white guy talk about intersectionality on the internet, get ready.
I mean,
Gird
obviously
your
they
loins.
would have. They've been listening to us talk for.
That's literally our audience.
That's it. That's our style. That's.
Yeah, so this is the part where you
Okay.
say any final thoughts, and then I'm just going to shout, fuck Roy Moore, and then I'm going to turn off the recording. So,
Oh, okay. Any final thoughts?
fuck Roy Moore.
There you go.
I want to have some soup,
Me too.
What kind of soup?
gumbo.
Nice.
Ted Cruz gumbo.
What?
We're going to eat it.
Nah, man, that's because first you got to make sausage, and I just don't have that kind of time right now.